Improving workplace safety in the Canadian construction trades industry. This study aims to fill an existing research gap and address the problems surrounding the statement that the existing workplace safety practices and regulations in the Canadian construction trades industry are not sufficient to successfully regulate and enforce workplace safety regulations, leading to unmitigated safety risks and unnecessary workplace injury. The objective of this research is to provide a solution to the above problem statement by solving the research question of what strategies or policy changes will need to be implemented in order to improve workplace safety regulations and reduce the risk of workplace injury or illness in the Canadian construction trades industry. A comprehensive literature review highlighted an existing research focus on a number of supporting key themes, such as a confirmation of elevated safety risks and perceived low levels of workplace safety in construction. This includes the critical importance of safety training, education, and managerial support amongst trades workers and the inefficiency of existing safety regulations and procedures in reducing injury and ensuring the workplace safety for workers in the construction industry. These themes are supported by countless statistics and research across various sources, all of which consistently outline the abnormally high levels of workplace injuries and fatalities in the construction industry when compared to other perceived dangerous industries such as manufacturing or transportation. Previous research has noted that the currently available information on efficient regulatory approaches to improve workplace safety is insufficient, highlighting a critical gap in the existing research on this topic. Additional studies have further supported this research need by highlighting that existing safety regulations and procedures, such as inspections in the construction industry, are insufficient in their ability to reduce the number of workplace injuries. As this topic has not been adequately addressed in previous research endeavors, it will be the focus of this study. These objectives aim to test the alternative hypothesis that the implementation of improved regulatory strategies and policy changes that focus on stricter safety violation enforcement, improved mandatory safety training, proactive hazard reporting, and stakeholder management strategies will result in a statistically significant correlation in a reduction in workplace injuries and illnesses and perceived overall workplace safety across the Canadian construction industry. By conducting this research, we will be able to either accept or reject the null hypothesis that the implementation of improved regulatory strategies and policy changes that focus on stricter safety violation enforcement, improved mandatory safety training, proactive hazard reporting, and stakeholder management strategies will not result in any statistically significant correlation between a reduction in workplace injuries and illness and perceived overall workplace safety across the Canadian construction industry. To answer this research question, a combination of qualitative and quantitative data on serious injuries, fatalities, illnesses, and existing safety training in the construction industry was collected in tandem with the review of studies and data on existing regulatory strategies and policies including inspector field activities to evaluate their efficiency in preventing injuries. Given the physical nature of workplace injuries, employees often do not return to work, making it unfeasible to efficiently and directly collect data through more traditional research collection methods with the individuals, such as interviewing or surveys. Based on the unique factors facing trades injury data collection, the methodology implemented for this study utilized a systematic review methodology using secondary data and a mixed method approach. This secondary data was collected and analysis was conducted on the population of construction workers and companies currently or previously employed in the construction sector in Ontario and Alberta. All data collected focused on criteria-based sampling and only included studies and statistics that met the predefined inclusion criteria outlined here, adhering to the systemic review methodology. Information outlined in Table 1 represents the annual historical data collected from 2016 to 2024 included in Appendix 1 from various Ontario provincial databases in relation to workplace incidents, safety-specific training, and field inspector activities. A Pearson linear correlation analysis is conducted on the above data, yielding the following results expressed in Table 2. Based on the results from Table 1, in Table 2, the following potential correlations have been identified. It is critical to note that the correlation does not equal causation and can be a result of variables that trend together or the effects of a limited sample size of less than 10 years of data. There is a strong potential positive correlation associated with incidence and time, highlighting that as the years go on, the number of safety incidents in the construction industry will increase. There also appears to be a potential positive correlation associated with training attendees and the number of safety incidents in the construction industry. However, given the small sample size and lack of posted data for 2023 and 2024, causation cannot be confirmed. However, directional correlation was not a trend or correlation that would offer support to the alternative hypothesis. Instead, this data may imply that safety training is increased in response to increased incidents and offers support to the null hypothesis. There also appears to be a potential weak negative correlation between field inspections and decreasing incidents. Though the correlation is weak, the data suggests increased inspections and field activities by inspectors may help to decrease incidents and improve safety for Ontario construction workers. There is also a potential strong positive correlation between an increase in workforce's numbers causing an increase in incidents. A multiple linear regression model was used to assess the combined effect of the independent variables of safety training, inspector field activities, and workforce on safety in the Ontario construction industry. Overall, the results in Table 3 indicate that the model provides a sufficient fit to the data and a very strong correlation between the model's predicted values and the actual values. However, it is important to note that the data and regression analysis is limited by a small pool size, as it only encompasses 8 years of incidents and mitigating factors, given the need to exclude the missing years of training data that have not yet been submitted by the province. An ANOVA statistical analysis was conducted on the data presented in Table 1, which has determined the statistical significance of the results of the study. Based on the results represented below, the correlation between increasing field activities by inspectors and a decrease in workplace injuries and fatalities is not statistically significant of a preventative effect. Additionally, these results indicate an increase in training attendance does not have a statistically significant effect on increasing workplace safety incidents. This positive coefficient may be as a result of training being required in the wake of a safety incident at the workplace as a reactive measure, which would change the directionality of the correlation. This implies that an increase in workplace safety incidents creates an increase in training requirements by employers. To examine the relationship between workplace inspections and changes in injury claims, both complete disability and time lost claims, the extremely large dataset of over 600,000 injuries and inspection reports from Alberta companies and limited computing capabilities, the data was compressed into a basic statistical analysis of years shown in the data in Table 5. An initial analysis was conducted with the below scatterplot in Figure 6 to assist with the identification of associations between the number of inspections and the number of injury claims. To support the analysis and counteract the limitations of the condensed data, analysis used in the scatterplot analysis is a Pearson linear correlation, which was calculated to confirm the strength and direction of any potential correlations as outlined based on the entire dataset attached as part of Appendix 1 in Table 6. This correlation showed virtually no correlation between an increase in inspections and an increase in incidents. For the purpose of comparative data and to counteract the limitations of a large dataset, the data which was compressed into an annual table in Table 5 has been utilized for the purpose of a second linear correlation in Table 7 and the regression ANOVA analysis in Table 8. Though both linear correlations show the number of incidents and inspections increasing together, the analysis of the large dataset with a weak correlation implies that the strong correlation shown in the condensed analysis is as a result of limited data points. This further highlights that this correlation does not imply causation or a strong relationship in terms of inspections, reducing the number of incidents. The results in Table 8 signify that the regression results are not statistically significant, and the model explains 38% of incidents. The results of this study reflect trends in potential relationships between training, safety regulations, inspector field activities, and workplace injuries in the construction industry. However, the small sample size of data and limited years of existing information is not large enough to determine correlation between any of the variables. This is a concerning identification, as it shows that the regulatory interest in monitoring and improving workplace safety in the construction industry is a relatively new concept, and that mitigating factors are in the early development and not overly effective. Based on an overall analysis of the data and this systematic review, it highlights that existing safety mitigating measures, including training and field inspector activities, are making little, if any, difference on reducing workplace safety incidents. When addressing the research question on how to reduce the risk of workplace injuries, this research has identified that the main strategies or policies the construction industry can focus on to potentially lower the industry's incident rate. These are safety training requirements need to be improved and more heavily mandated and monitored to ensure that they occur proactively as a preventative strategy as opposed to post-injury in order to improve workplace safety. The industry can benefit by increasing the number and variety of on-site inspector field activities, including proactive hazard reporting systems that are required by governing bodies. This strategy, along with the implementation of a more robust reporting system with public access, may help to guide businesses to not only avoid fines, but increase safety knowledge on common risks and fuel future research and development of safety mitigators for both individual companies and researchers. An increase is required in the penalties for repeat safety incidents, and deficiencies in training should include the requirement for remedial training for both working level and managerial level to ensure supervisory buy-in to safety culture and practices. Unfortunately, the results of this research did not produce statistical results on correlations in the relationship between safety training, inspector field activities, and workplace safety incidents due to ethical limitations in study design and insufficiencies in available data. Nevertheless, it was able to identify a need for future research and that Canada's current safety mitigation practices and regulations surrounding training, inspections, and reporting are insufficient and will need to be subjected to further study and improved upon in order to show results in incident reduction. It also highlights that there is either a deficiency in the data collection by regulatory bodies and legislators, or that there is a lack of transparency in the data that is publicly available. This deficiency puts employers who want to make positive changes for their company at a disadvantage, without the tools and knowledge to make meaningful changes to the safety of their workforce. There is no doubt that there is a need for major change in the industry, but the question remains whether there is a willingness for regulators to undergo the required level of effort needed to amend policy regulations, enforcement strategies, and data collection surrounding safety in order to ensure a future for the industry where every worker who is building the foundation of our communities can return home safely to their families at the end of every day.